We go. Right, I've stopped the music now, a bit quick there. Hopefully,
we have some music, yeah.
Yeah, there's music, so hopefully it's all going to plan this week. Right, well, a very, very good evening. It is Sunday the, 26th of May today.
26th, yeah.
26th, near the end of May already. It's quite scary. It's bank
holiday
weekend.
Does it?
No,
does it feel like it?
It's bank holiday weekend, so it's raining again here in Staffordshire. It's been raining all day. It wasn't too bad yesterday. Got out for a few beers. And this is episode 58 of the Malt Travel podcast. And as kind of set up, we are going to spend most of this podcast talking about Wetherspoons. So I'm guessing Bruce might have to rush off at some point to go to the pub, or is he in for the night now? I don't know.
No, I'm fine now. Right. Can't drink tonight.
We may do in two halves again.
I've been in Wetherspoons for the last 3 hours, so I'm very merry, thanks.
Very good, very good. So
I'm still drinking. You lot aren't drinking. What are you drinking? Now
at the moment. I had too much yesterday. Actually. I must be getting ill. I think on my second pint, I was going, God, I've had 2 pints and I already feel a bit bloody woozy. So I had some nice beers yesterday. But yeah. And then
it smells lovely.
It didn't stop me.
Where did you go?
Just round town. I walked up to the Titanic pub. Because unfortunately, again, they'd got quite a few different beers on, but by the time I got there was only 1-2 guests on. It was very nice. Went across the road to the Cask and had a really nice pint in there, and then just my usual haunts in town, which was quite good. He's on Nicholas is on Yorkshire Heart Scarbados.
It's cracking is that? Good. Tell you, man. Ooh,
so we'll have our normal we'll have our normal catch up and beery news, etc. Because again, it's about a month since I think we did the last one. I think in the last podcast we had mentioned, I think actually in fact you two had recently been to the Kirkstall Brewery tap, hadn't you, and were singing its praises. And about just after that, actually, Kirkstall announced they're taking over the Tetley. So the Tetley is the last bit of Tetley's which remains in Leeds. It's been kind of an art gallery kind of place, hasn't it, for a while. It's kind of on the edge of where the old Tetley Brewery was, although it's all been knocked down, hasn't it?
The Tetley, farty pretentious,
So they're taking that over.
I'm going around the Tetley Brewery when they're still brewing there on a trip from Brightsteel Workingmen's Club, because in those days they did brewery trips. I have to say the Tetley Imperial on that night was some of the finest beer I've ever drunk in my life. But it's still amazing. Every time you go to Leeds, it was such an iconic building. You really can't believe it.
Tetley's beer always was good. You know, you can't deny it. For a classic bitter, Tetley's, what they did was good.
So it's very much an Art Deco type building. So I need to be. Well, I don't know where they are yet with it, and I presume they're going to turn it into kind of some kind of bar. And I know they said they wanted to really. I think there is a little bit of history in there, in the current guise. But I think they're going to make it much more of a kind of homage to Tetley. So it'll be interesting to see. And I know we worked this out. Did we say are they still making a Tetley's pale? Or I know Lee's Brewery were for a while. So whether they've also got the hands on some Tetley's, trademarks and beer recipes, don't know. We'll have to come back to that one. It'll be interesting.
Yeah, so it's in the Fox. It's on about the Fox of the Tetley's. Tetley's from the Tetley brew, Wolverhampton brew. Tetley's, I believe it is, isn't it?
Tetley's bitter is Tetley's bitter is brewed in Wolverhampton, but then we did say that Tetley's pales there's a couple of other Tetley beers, isn't there? And then again, about the same time, or end of April, Green King, winners of the Camera Beer of the Year award, of course, said that they're actually going to, they are trying to close down their 200-year brewery, which again I think is in the middle of Bury St Edmunds, and build a brand new brewery, £40 million brewery, apparently on an industrial estate, which is actually, I think, where their distribution centre is. And again, it was all linked to they want to move away from cask and focus more on modern fizzy craft beers, which is kind of a strange, bit of a strange thing, really, because as we've said before, Abbott, for all the perils of Abbott Ale and Old Speckled Hen, they must sell vast quantities of that.
Exactly.
And it's a big, it's a big small pack as well, isn't it?
But
Every supermarket will have them. No, that's Green King.
That's
Yeah,
Morehouses in Abbott.
No, they're Green King though. Speckled
Well,
Dane,
Blue
Abbott.
King is from Abbott Ale.
Yeah, Abbott.
They have announced they're bringing out a new something like honey-based beer, aren't there? Something nectar for this summer.
And then equally bad news. In fact, I hope it was nothing to do with us, but we were actually there about 2 or 3 months ago. We had a trip to Macclesfield, and we were shouting out that Treacle Tap, which was Buxton Brewery taken over. It had to been closed for a while. It's a little micro bar just near the station, and unfortunately, having things. Although we did say it was a little bit, it was quiet, wasn't it? And the beers were very expensive. And unfortunately,
and not the people that were walking around Macclesfield at that time didn't want a, I don't know, passion fruit sour, as it were. In terms of the beers they are on the tap and the price they were at, it's like just, sometimes you've got to cater for the mainstream rather than just being completely craft orientated and being a little bit, I don't know. Yeah.
So anyway, they brought in the administrators. They blame COVID, although again there was quite a bit of Twitter kind of backwards and forwards. I posted a couple of points. I did say, look, during COVID they were fantastic. The brewery that they have just outside of Buxton, they created a whole massive beer garden with a great
outdoor area,
TP with a cracking view. Yeah. They had pop-up street food there. All the beers, it's fantastic, and every time we went, it was absolutely, you had to book because it was that busy. And then once COVID finished, they kind of, we went a couple of times and we were disappointed. They were like 2 or 3 beers on, often only one cask beer on. They kind of built a little bit of they kind of put a little mezzanine in the brewery. Brewery taps again are a little bit disappointing in town, and then one was a tap, then it wasn't a tap. So anyway, apparently they've now been bought out, as most breweries are these days, by some investors, happy place investors. Haven't quite said what they're going to do yet. And apparently they've sold the brewery, the intellectual property, and the tap rooms. I think the only good news is that these investors apparently are both local. So the 2 directors that are named both live in Buxton. So again, maybe that's one to keep an eye on. The beer's not bad actually. The beer's good. It's quite hoppy. It's quite kind of new age. They do some nice cask. They have some quite hilarious, funny names. Their Axe Edge beer is always is kind of award winning. So we'll keep an eye on that one. And then I think the last bit of news that we've got, which again we've mentioned two here again interestingly. So we talked about the union system in Burton, and we mentioned I think it was in January, wasn't it, that Carlsberg Marston's announced that they weren't any good anymore and they were going to get rid of them. And to be honest, they'd already been phasing them out anyway and mixing things like pedigree and not using them. Apparently Thornbridge thought there's an opportunity here. So Thornbridge got in touch and said, listen, if you don't want them, can we have them? And I don't know whether they bought them or whether they've been given them. But at the moment, they're sat in Bakewell with 41 hectolitres of Jaipur going through it at the moment. So so they've got it. And I just read their blog, and so they heard about it in January. They got their act together, and by May, it was up and running. It's producing beer in Bakewell, which just shows you that if you want to get on with this, and it's funny, isn't it, how Marston say it's out of date and it's crap, and Thornbridge say, no, it's great, let's do it. So we'll have to look out for that Jaipur when it comes out, that's been through their union system, and they're going to run a whole load of beers through it. So they've been interesting to kind of see how that goes. And then don't we put this one, I'm just kind of one of those funny little things like these do the news at 10. A brewery down in Broadstairs in Kent.
Oh, yeah.
Neighbours are happy because it smells. It smells yeasty, sickly smell. So they're all complaining. Actually, when I actually got into this, it's a bit of a strange one. It's not, well, it is a brewery. They're called South East Bottling Company. And it said that they do beers for people like Tiny Rebel and Old Dairy. So again, what they're doing is it's like a cuckoo brewery almost, like a contract brewer. So they're brewing Tan Rebel, not in Cardiff, and they're brewing it in Broadstairs and sending it on. So again, yes. But one neighbour said though it had a comforting smell like hot Weetabix, which is probably right. And obviously, having grown up in a brewing town, we were quite used to that, weren't we? And well, Bruce, of course, had the perils of living in York, where you got the smell of chocolate wafting over at certain times of the year, didn't you? Which is very nice.
It's funny, but yeah, the chocolate smell used to be omnipresent. Now, occasionally,
it's gone now, isn't it? Yeah,
but it has gone. But very occasionally, on a cold morning,
we get the smell of pies now from Yorkshire Baker, the bacon factory, and Propack. Yeah. So you get up in the morning, you walk out. It's like it either smells like oxtail soup or pies.
And
they're employing people.
Yeah, I think even in Burton now, I don't think you get much of a smell. I think everything's been so kind of, I guess, environmental controls and things. So not much of a smell. So I say it's been about a month since we were last on air, and then we were just kind of finishing off our Celtic trips. So I managed to sneak in a quick trip to up to Malton and into York. Unfortunately, Brucey, I think you were working that day, weren't you? Shift didn't quite match. So had a little bit of a solo run while the ladies and son went shopping, and I met up with them towards the end of the session. So I thought I'd try and do a slightly different thing. I started off in the Minster Arms, which was interesting. It's very food oriented there, isn't it? They did let me sit. They did let me go in, and give them the due. They let me go in. It took me quite a while to get served at the bar, even though there was nobody else there apart from me, and there were lots of staff. The manager guy took me on at one point and asked if I was eating. I said no. The beer was all right, but again, it's quite noticeably gone up quite a bit. So started there, then walked up and thought I'd try the three-legged mare, because I've not really been in there since Black Sheep took it over. And well, let's put it this way, there wasn't any York beer, even though they still brew York Brewery beers. There was no York Brewery beers on whatsoever. And it was very much a showcase for Black Sheep beers, which again, we're doing quite well. And new one for me was their Black Stout, Yorkshire Stout, which everybody was interested in, but the barmaid kept saying it's 8.5%, by the way, and which put everybody off. So it's quite a strong one. So I actually ended up on the Half Moon, which actually is a York beer, isn't it? Half Moon, just outside York. And then actually had their session IPA. It was very good. But again, it was very, very busy, very, very, very full. A lot of people were asking about York Brewery and asking about York beer, and we've just been told, well, we're Black Sheep now. We do still brew York beers, but well, there's none on sign here, which is a bit of a shame, isn't it? Because you'd have thought that, this was one of the brewery's flagship pubs, wasn't it?
Absolutely, fact, it was great beer too. The Snowflake they did every December was one of the best cast beers you could ever get. It was fantastic.
In fact, we had a very nice irony here just before Bruce's wedding, which was just up the road in the Catholic church. So
they used to have the
we went in here.
Ghost Centurion, wasn't it, bro? Something like that. The stronger one.
That's right. Centurion Pale Ale one.
Yeah.
So
the Half Moon are very traditional.
Yeah.
Even we tried to buy their bottle beers, but they said, it's all bottle conditioned. They are very, very traditional in the way that they brew. So, but it's good beer. Yeah.
And then again, it's something we've talked about on the podcast, but very sadly, obviously across the road from the three-legged mare is the still very much boarded up, shut up York Arms. And again, just for those on YouTube, I know you've mentioned this, Bruce, but if you look where it is, that's York Minster behind it, which must have something like 10 million visitors a year. And this is probably with the Guy Fawkes, probably the nearest pub to the York Minster.
Empty to Humphrey.
Yeah. Sam Smith's pub, but unfortunately it doesn't look like it's going to open anytime soon.
But what he has done actually is advertised for a couple, but he's increased the rate because they're going to do a 7-day food offering. It normally only pays something like 18,500 for a couple.
Yeah.
He's actually 18,500 each, and of course that includes your rent. So he's obviously really keen to get this one open. He's possibly embarrassed by it being closed because of its proximity to the Minster.
I mean, this pub will be full all day long. Like I say, with food as well. This pub will, it's not out of the way. So Minster in, went up to Phoenix, had to go and get my Phoenix cut, and actually, even though it was a Saturday, for about 15 minutes, I had the whole of that front room to myself. So as I walked in there were obviously some medical students being quite loud, and then it was just me. So I sat in the corner by the fire, had a nice pie and a pint. A couple of other couples did come in, and said how quiet it was. So it wasn't 15 minutes ago. A lot of pissed up medical students in. But that was very nice. And then I went to the House of Trend Madness, but couldn't get a seat for quite a while. So yeah, all very interesting. And then managed. I think Nick, we managed a couple of beers in the Malton Tap, in the Brasscastle Tap. And then we had our usual little soiree up to the Old Malton Royal Oak. So very nice. I managed to get a drink with Nick. Fortunately, didn't get a drink with Bruce. I went in the York Tap as well, which was, as always, quite busy. Quite a nice range of beers. I think I had that Jericho you can see there, which I can't remember who did that. But again, good range of beers. There is always good range of beers. And I think actually it's improved. The toilets don't smell as much now. And the beer, which could be a bit flaky at times, was on pretty good form. And you see that pint I've got there is pretty good. So give them the due.
It's good,
doing okay.
The pricing's fair.
So Bruce has been doing lots of travelling up down the northeast east coast line. So a couple of pubs you went on. You went to Berwick, Bruce, on a little outing. Not last week.
Thursday, I went to Berwick because I've been told about legendary butchers there. Apparently, they're some of the best steak pies in Scotland, even though Berwick's in England. At Skelly's. So yes, I jumped on the train, went to Berwick. Unfortunately, the free trade there, which I've been in the free trade many years ago, because I had the misfortune to spend a few days at Haggerston Castle Holiday Park. So I managed to escape to Berwick. The free trade is a fantastic area. But that was closed. It's only open now about 3 nights a week and one Friday. That's the one close to the station. But I will return to Berwick though, because I want to go to Kelso and I'm going to go to Holy. I've not been there for years either. Free Trade is a fantastic pub, but sadly it was closed. That was a bit of a blow. I should have checked where I went. But then the other pub they recommend in the Good Big Ad is the Pilot Inn, which is kind of on if you come out the railway station, go straight, find Quick Fit and going straight down there towards the sea. It really is. It's a terrace street, and this really is a back street local, but very friendly pub. Very 1970s feel inside it. The electric fire going. Only 3 or 4 ales on, but very reasonably priced and really well kept beers. And very, very friendly. Although I'm telling you, Michael, I was talking to one bloke away, a nice chat with him, and he goes, "Oh, I'll have to go, and I need to go pick the grandkids up from school." And it was on his 4th pint, I think, by the time I'd been there. And he got his car keys up and left to pick his grandkids up.
I tell you, cracking.
But yeah, definitely worth the trip. Yeah, but great little town. I've been in Berwick for a lot of years. Sadly, 1 or 2 empty shops there. There used to be a legendary baker's near the station. That's gone. The other butcher in town, in the shadow of the town hall, that's gone. But Skelly's was amazing. It's been a butcher since 1760 in the Skelly family. It was John Skelly who served me. He was telling me all about it. It was a lovely bloke. The steak pies were out of this world. Absolutely outstanding they were. I can recommend those. And then I did find the last surviving town centre independent bakers and bought a loaf, and she charged me a penny to slice it. So Scotch influence is really.
What did you do with that loaf, Bruce?
Berry for a loaf. Interestingly, when I was in the cast yesterday, they had quite a range actually of local camera, magazines that people have dropped off, and they actually had the Wearside one. So I mentioned this to Bruce yesterday that Vaux Brewery apparently have bought one of the beach shelters in Sunderland on Roker Beach, and they're going to turn it into a micro bar. So it was said in there, I think it's supposed to be ready for opening summer 2024. So, and in fact, I tweeted it, and actually the brewery did tweet me back. So we'll have to keep an eye out. And I mentioned to Bruce whether, fortunately, his shift, he said he only stops every now and then, does it in Sunderland, and often late at the night. So
I often get the metro there. Well, we can all do it though.
Maybe. So we'll keep.
It was always a bit of a beer desert, wasn't it? There was one place that they reckon there's like lots of like oak paneling partitions, but not oak as in Victorian mahogany and oak, like packing case oak.
That's right,
and that was the only place in Berwick where you could go for a beer. Like, so interesting to say you found a couple of the places.
That Free Trade is a stunning interior.
All right,
and I think it's something to do with the licensing laws, obviously, because Berwick kept switching between England and Scotland, didn't it? And actually, for a long time, Scotland had very tight licensing laws because it was kind of Presbyterian and, you know, a bit like the
Carlisle.
Northern Ireland. Yeah, a bit like Carlisle, yeah.
On the border.
And then, Nick, you had a little bit of an East Yorkshire a little trip out yesterday. So you sent me a nice picture outside the Minerva, which is...
Use me £10 vouchers, Northern Rail.
And you made a discovery in Beverley as well that you weren't aware. I think last time we went to the Monk's Walk, it was quite dark. I've got a picture of you outside, so that's why we didn't find the beer garden. But like you said, it's a cracking view, isn't it?
Monk's Walk, I've always been in the pub. But in fact, I read up on it last time, and they reckon they've got this beer garden. So I walked through the back, and it's a long old pub. They've got this massive, great big courtyard area. And I actually physically counted up 126 people that could sit in there. And all of a sudden, when I went in back into the pub, I saw this archway, went in like a secret garden. You've got capacity for at least another 70 or 80 people there. They can accommodate like 250 people outside. Unbelievable. Overlooking the Minster. So in COVID, I assume they were all right as well, like, because it's huge.
Yeah.
The outside space, you know, they've not, whether it was the original car park or whether it was original, I don't know, a yard, but huge area. So when the weather's nice, I mean, it was so yesterday, but I sat outside there and it was like, because one of the main entrances, in fact, it's actually easy to find it through their back entrance, as it were, from the front entrance there, just down from the Minster. So, cracking place. And a good range of beers on again. And, about $4.40 a pint, but best pub I visited yesterday. Really, I would recommend, definitely.
Very good. So that's our beer travels. So it's obviously bank holiday weekend now. So I'm off to Wales again, back to Tenby. So not much to tell you about Tenby because I've already told you. But we'll have to catch up next time again where else we've been. So
Tim.
We better crack on. And again, for those on YouTube, I'd probably have to show this. So here's a picture of Wetherspoons, leading man. Mr. Tim, and with
got
our
a suntan on there, auntie.
He has, with our former Prime Minister who's trying to pull a pint of Winder and Eaton's Night of the Garter, but we will see. And Adnam's broadside, I think he's one of Tim Martin's things. Actually, I did find out Tim Martin, actually not the CEO. Tim Martin's a chairman, isn't he? Tim Martin's only the chairman of Wetherspoons, and a guy called John Hudson is actually the CEO. And he came from Allied Domecq when they got bought out by Pernod Ricard. So, Welt's not brewing. That was all kind of not Teacher's whiskey, isn't it? And Lafrogue, they're all Allied Domecq and Tia Maria and that African one that you put in. What's it?
Kahlua, but he knows the industry, doesn't he?
Yeah. So JD Wetherspoons. So again, I don't know. I don't think it's well known really. Obviously, it's a made-up name. It doesn't mean anything. JD because apparently the Dukes of Hazzard. The Dukes of Hazzard were Tim Martin's favourite TV program as a young person. And for those that are old enough to remember, JD Hogg was this kind of local politician, bigwig, the guy, little guy dressed in white with a big cigar. So that's where the JD comes from. And then by all accounts, he went to quite a few schools actually. His father worked for Guinness, didn't he? Guinness International. So because of that, he went all around the world, and I think he might have been in the RAF as well at some point. So he did quite a lot of his schooling in New Zealand, and apparently a Mr. Wetherspoons, who was a geography teacher, told him that he would never make anything of his life. And so that's why it's JD Wetherspoons. So it's JD Hogg and Mr. Wetherspoons, some Kiwi geography teacher. So that's an interesting thing. And in fact, I think the first one was simply called Martin's Pub. Which is quite interesting. So obviously he does get quite a lot of rightly or wrongly, and I think in a way it's a bit like all news is good news, isn't it? He's quite good at getting himself in the headlines. So he recently talked about that he was going to freeze breakfast prices as part of the kind of he's tackling the current cost of living crisis. Give him his due. He hasn't got Guinness in any of his Irish pubs because Diageo won't do a deal to keep it cheap.
Well, he has.
Not in
Northern Ireland. He's got Guinness.
Oh, Northern Ireland, yeah.
Best pint of Guinness in Northern Ireland.
Not in the Republic. And again, I think he's probably most infamous for that quote. He was misquoted during COVID when he said about all his workers going to work for Tesco's, which actually
absolutely misquoted.
Was actually misquoted. So let's have a little bit of some of the kind of the facts and figures. So Wetherspoons has an estate of around about 900 pubs, although they constantly do change them, and they've recently sold 50, but then they're also opening brand new ones, and particularly
Trying
I think
to sell
St
them, yeah.
Pancras, hasn't it? St Pancras had a brand new one built. Employs, actually I checked this again today. 43,000 pubs. Sorry, it employs 43,000 people. So that makes him again quite a significant employer. 55 hotels and weather lodges. There are also 20 Lloyd's music bars. It's a FTSE 250 company. They pour 3 million pints a week, and this is basically why you do find cheap beer. And it's I think I noticed it this last week. You know, it's £2 a pint basically in Wetherspoons, isn't it? Even sometimes without having the voucher, it's still around £2 a pint.
Yeah, whereas like his Monday club now again.
Yeah. Like you were saying, Nick, the average now in most of the pubs is kind of 4.30, unit 4.40, 4.50. It's becoming the norm, I think.
Am I allowed to talk about my visit to Whitby the other week?
Not yet.
Where
no.
I paid £6. Yeah.
We told us that anyway. Last time you were on, I think, your £6 pint.
No. We went on there, £6.10 in the Hart Inn in Sandnes, which is an absolute scandal. Tourist pub. £6.10 for a pint of Bitterbrooks.
And I think we mentioned that they've just recently done a deal where they're going to put Wetherspoons in all of those 38 Avon holidays, which probably can close Haggerson Castle as well, Bruce. You'll be glad to hear. So it might entice you back to that lovely caravan park.
Primrose Valley's the first one, isn't it? But you don't actually have to be staying in the park.
Yeah.
So you the one at Primrose Valley, Nick, you don't have to be staying in the park. They're on the periphery of the camp, so you don't have to be a regular to visit them.
40 million.
Going to Hull yesterday, he has one at Hull University. They own Wetherspoons on campus now.
quite a few universities of them. 40 million visits a year, and apparently the average salary of a Wetherspoons customer is 46,000, which is slightly but again is a bit of a myth, isn't it? Because the average salary is about 27,000 now. So again, it's not it's not the
place where you can only afford to.
Yeah, that's interesting.
I've experienced that today.
Little known facts. The first pub that he bought in North London was called Marla's, and it was renamed Tim's Free House. Actually, it's now an Irish bar called Keenan's. It is still open, but it's no longer a Wetherspoons. Again, I'd forgotten this, that Tim Martin sold a 25% share of Wetherspoons to Scottish Newcastle back in the late 80s. And that's why, again, if you remember for a phase, you'd get Thigson's bitter and Younger's bitter in most Wetherspoons. He now actually only owns 25% of it. So he's carried on obviously it went public. The most popular name is Moon Underwater. And there are 14 of them, which takes us all the way back to episode number 1 when we set the podcast up. So he likes Orwell's mythical pub essay. So that's the most common name. Mentioned that in Ireland they don't serve Guinness in the Republic of Ireland, although they do sell Murphy's and Beamish. And interestingly, again, each Wetherspoons sets its own prices. In fact, that's been in the paper this week because somebody's been saying morning about London. I think there are now quite a few London Wetherspoons where they're charging £5 and £6 a pint, because again,
Leicester's dearest, St Pancras is now the second dearest, isn't it?
Yeah, because the actual management in the Wetherspoon can set prices that suit with, and that's why you often get manager specials at 99p and things as well. And again, this is probably worth saying that the 68-year-old Sir Tim Martin was named as one of the UK's biggest taxpayers. And it emerged that in 2023 he actually paid £123 million off tax, which is quite uncommon against most senior British industrialists, isn't it? Our local one, Mr. Bamford, who owns JCP, has disappeared because he owns millions of pounds of tax. So quite interesting. So give him his due. He pays his taxes. Again, and there's the Primrose Valley. That's the artist's view, which will be their first Primrose Valley holiday.
I'm going there. I'm definitely going there.
I'm guessing that they'll probably put prices slightly up, because you're a captive audience, aren't you, on a holiday park?
Don't matter.
And it's certainly at Primrose Valley. It's a long walk to the nearest pub, I would imagine. So a little bit of background then. So Tim Randall Martin, or Tim as he's called, was born in 1955 in Norwich. That was it. His father was a former RAF pilot who worked as a senior executive for Guinness, and because of that, he spent quite a lot of time in both New Zealand and Belfast.
Micah, this month's magazine somebody's asked why they can't stock 0% Guinness, and he's actually shown a picture of his dad in with all the Guinness Nigeria, because Guinness always had a brewery in Nigeria.
Yeah, Nigeria.
Saying the problem is Guinness will charge an arm length for it, but I will look to put 0% Guinness in my pubs because I'm the same. Out of all the non-alcoholic beers that I've tried, Guinness 0% is the best one I've tried. Other than Adam's Ghost Ship. So it's saying like, well, look at it. But once again, he's a businessman. He's saying like, if Guinness is going to charge me like 3-4 quid for 0% Guinness, which doesn't justify the fact that you're not paying duty on it, I ain't going to take it on board. But if Guinness turn around and say like, yeah, we'll give you a decent price, then fair play. But he's actually put a photograph of his dad there with all the other Guinness executives in that picture, which is once again, this is a bloke who is like running a company, but he's still, down to earth at heart, as far as I'm concerned.
So he, as I mentioned, he was educated in both Belfast and in New Zealand. He went to Campbell College in Belfast, which is quite a prestigious, it's not private per se, but it's quite a prestigious one. And he actually went to the University of Nottingham, where he studied law. And in fact, that was his early career, was a barrister, where he started off. He got into beer when he was at Nottinghamshire, drinking local beers such as Shipston's and Home Brewery. Although I remember drinking Home Brewery in Loughborough, and it wouldn't inspire me much to go drinking. But that it says gave him that
Shipston's
love
as well.
Beer.
Never remember Shipston's was great.
Well, you're from this is a bloke who thinks Abbott Ale is the best beer.
I know. So he moved to London.
What's wrong with Abbott Ale?
That's horrible.
Well, then, let's leave that one. He moved to London.
When was the last time you had an Abbott Ale?
I did try to do it. It was not good at all, I have to say.
He moved to London in 1978, where the local pub scene, he said, was awful because it was loud music, keg beer, and high prices. So he found a pub in Muswell Hill, Marler's Bar, run by Andrew Marler, which had been a betting shop previously, and was one of the relative few free houses. And this is quite important. Again, I think another element of it in that actually for the first few years, he found it quite hard because breweries just wouldn't sell him beer. Because he said, I'm a free house, I want to be able to offer different beers. And of course, back in the kind of 80s and 70s, brewers didn't like that. They wanted to control the whole system. So eventually he managed to sold his flat, got £11,000 and took on the lease of Marler's and renamed it Martin's Free House, which became the first Wetherspoons. I think the second one, then he bought a former kind of garage showroom, again, close by in London. And that was the second one, and then that was it. It was he was on there by 83. He'd got 4 pubs, and then as he kind of rolled through, he went public with it in 1992 on the stock exchange. But then it had 150 pubs, and the rest, I guess, is history really. That it just kind of got to that point now where we said 900 pubs now across the UK, so quite big. He kind of used it to develop this kind of Wetherspoons, or sometimes called the Wetherspoons formula. Often because he couldn't buy pubs, because again the breweries wouldn't sell in pubs. He looked for other buildings. I mentioned obviously the car showroom that he bought, and then the same with cask, really, that he wanted to buy cask ales from regional brewers, local brewers, and push them around. So kind of that's what he did. So that's kind of some of the background. A lot of his kind of, I guess, his business acumen. Yeah, it was. So we're gonna go for a short break. Just carry this bit, then we get into some debate. So Walmart is very much what he kind of based it on. Okay, so we're just back from our short break, and we just got to the point where just almost finished the kind of background to Wetherspoons. So apparently he read Sam Walmart's business book, or one of his business books. There's quite a few apparently, and Walmart's obviously is the big chain. They were behind Asda for a while, weren't they? But I don't think they are anymore. And it was all about very much customers are the key. Your employees are your business partners. So again, I think they do use a lot of staff feedback. Staff come up with ideas. Simplify everything you do. Steal ideas shamelessly. Communicate. So very much geared up by that. But as I said, the key thing is the volume of beer they sell. They sell so much beer that's why they can buy big volume of beer and they can flag it out cheap. we've also probably got to mention that we've said it in many podcasts that they do, Wetherspoons do save some fantastic buildings that otherwise would probably, boarded up, run down. So there's quite a few surveys on the internet about which are the best Wetherspoons. Often the Opera House in Tunbridge Wells comes out as number one, which has retained quite a lot of beating there. Obviously, more local to us guys is the Harrogate, the Winter Garden, which again, it's a fantastic building, isn't it? And the cost of just refurbishing that and the cost of heating it and lighting it.
I would say the St Albans one, Mike, that we went in. That's St Albans. The fact that it's just off the high street, it's a historic medieval building. The fact that it survived anyway, but it probably wouldn't have survived if he hadn't taken it on. Like that building's fantastic. So St Albans, Wetherspoons, definitely.
The Royal Victoria Pavilion, Ramsgate, we haven't been there, but that apparently is very nice, very Art Deco. We've mentioned the Palladium in Llandudno. I've been there. That's an old cinema. Still got all the old boxes.
That looks fantastic. Imagine are the tables drink in the boxes then?
No, you can't. No, I think there are some tables up on that little circle floor there, but not in the boxes.
You can go up there, but you're not encouraged to drink up there. But there's nothing to stop you taking a drink up, then hanging out up there. But they mentioned the Picture House, Cali Picture House in Edinburgh, which I don't think I've been in that one. Been in one on Waverley Station. Hamilton Hall in London, which wants a grand ballroom. The Velvet Coaster, I think that's in Lytham St. Blackpool, or Lytham St. Anne's. Blackpool. Been in that one, definitely.
That's kind of 3-tiered, isn't it? Which is fantastic. So again,
Bruce,
can't argue.
You've been in the one in Bournemouth, the largest glass Victorian. What's it classed as? Is it Bournemouth or
the Ramsgate? Into you're thinking of
Ramsgate. Okay.
No. I'm sure it's Bournemouth. It was a Victorian summer house, glass and cast iron, wasn't it? The biggest one in Europe now.
It was. I don't think. Yeah, it was lovely. It was nice. The one in Bournemouth. It had a great outside area and outside drinking area. That one as well. It was one of the better ones I've been to. Yeah.
But inside, it's a huge glass. It's like a master great conservatory, isn't it?
No, it's not Bournemouth. Yeah.
Anyway, let's move on. So again, for those on YouTube, the iconic picture in front of you is the blue and white plate, which again tells you in Wetherspoons, and this is of course their famous breakfast, which again I think was another great marketing ploy, wasn't it? Just to think, let's open a bit early. I think they've redone it again. I think they've opened again a bit earlier because they recognise it's a huge breakfast thing. I mean, for what I think it's $3.49 round here. For it's not called a small breakfast; it's called just traditional breakfast, isn't it? Your bacon, your sausage, your egg, your beans, your hash brown, your piece of toast, your tomato. I think you'd have to pay a bit extra for black pudding, but for $3.49. So apparently, second only to McDonald's in how many breakfasts they kick out every week. I think it was 10 million breakfasts they serve. And I've got to say that I mostly go to Wetherspoons for breakfast. It's probably where I go most. Now and then have a pint, but again, coffee refills, bottomless coffee refills, which again they get right. Those machines do work a lot better than they used to now. I think the rest of the food offer is interesting. It's it's fairly bog standard stuff. You know what you're going to get, and that's what people like. Some people like that. They've made decisions like that. They used to do Sunday dinners. They've stopped doing Sunday lunches now. They do some regionality. So obviously breakfasts do change. So the Scottish breakfast is different from the, and I guess the Irish breakfast is different again from the English breakfast. So I know Bruce tends to roll his nose up at the Wetherspoons fair. Me and Nicholas take it on.
The fact that they've tried to obviously put a picture of that bacon is gross, is it? Actually, those prices, the small breakfast, the ones you're quoting, the traditional ones are about $5.80 now.
Yeah,
I don't think you can dispute the coffee's an amazing.
Yeah,
I mean it's outrageous paying £4 for a coffee. Like cost when you can go there, and for $1.59 now the coffee, sit there and drink it. And for pensioners, that must be a godsend. Yeah. But people say the breakfast cheap. I think I don't think it is cheap. This is
I don't know.
The quality of the food on that plate is what you buy from Iceland, isn't it? The sausage.
No, because all their products are from the sausage is from established Irish butchers.
They're all mainly Irish. The eggs.
The bacon is from established pork butchers. So whilst that
pig died in vain because that bacon looks disgusting. What a shame the pig lived its life and had to die.
Well, the bacon's pre-cooked.
The bacon is bacon, Bruce.
Yeah,
the bacon is
pre-cooked, which I think doesn't help it much. It's pre-cooked.
You expect that bacon to have a smiley face on its face. It's a piece of bacon, Bruce.
No, but you could.
It's not full of fat.
But this breakfast
tea,
this breakfast tea would cost you £89 in another pub chain. And certainly if you went to a cafe, it would cost
it could
you
be shite.
£4.99 or £5. Yeah, I've got to say, I don't breakfast.
I think you make a good point. I think like some of the Green King pubs. I mean, we have the Windmill in York across Wetherspoons. The breakfast costs double what you're paying, and it's absolutely dreadful. You know better than Wetherspoons. But I mean that.
But we're not just talking about breakfast, are we? I've been to 2 chain pubs in the last 2 weeks. I've been to Toby Carvery and I've been to whatever the pear tree is. And in terms of
that's dreadful.
Quality of food,
it's dreadful, isn't it?
Yeah, but these are chain pubs, bro. And you're saying Wetherspoons is a chain pub, therefore it's dreadful as well. But in terms of those other 2 chain pubs, Wetherspoons is head and shoulders above the rest of them. In terms of quality, in terms of service, in terms of variety, in terms of everything else. Yeah, if you're going to go to a chain pub, you expect what you want to expect. If you go to an independent pub, you expect the service and the food and the drink to be better, but you're paying twice as much, and sometimes it's not. Sometimes they really are taking the piss out of you, as in the Hart Inn in Sands End, charging me £6.10 for a pint of beer that's made by Banks's.
And again, the good thing was, you do pretty much get it. I know they have that 10-minute rule for breakfast, and to be honest, you do get it normally within that 10 minutes. And again, certainly when we go, that's what we want. We've gone onto the supermarket car parks. We've got 90 minutes, so we'll do a bit. We want to do a supermarket shop, but before we do that, we want to go and get some breakfast. So for me, it's ideal because you go in, order it on the app. It'll be there in 10 minutes. You can eat it. You get back within your time. So it's pretty good.
That's exactly what me and Jackie did yesterday, because we were on the train.
Rush.
We had 2 hours in Hull, 2 hours in Beverley, and I said we've got the spoons in Beverley. We know exactly we're going to get something to eat in a specific time, and what we had to eat, we knew what we were going to get. It wasn't haute cuisine, but there again, what we were served was acceptable. We were happy with it. And we knew it was going to be within 10 minutes. I had 2 decent beers, once again, local real ales, and then on we went again. And the other thing is, I walked in there, I knew what the price was going to be on the pumps. It was there. It got me 50 pence off.
It's pretty transparent. Yeah. Pretty transparent. Although I did walk in and walk out yesterday, because I walked in and saw there was about 12 people at the bar. And again, the one thing that does get me in Wetherspoons is they're not very good at managing the bar. So the ones I go in, so I give up because you do, but you can't use your 50p then. So I must admit I walked in and walked out, because certainly I won in Newcastle. They're not very good at managing the bar. Last week I was stood there for. Clearly, I was the next guy. I let the guy go next to me, and then some guys came in straight away and said three lagers.
Beverley, they've actually got a queuing lane.
Yeah,
they actually incorporate a queuing lane.
And then the other thing that, again, is quite controversial, I guess, is that there is obviously the Wetherspoons magazine, which I think in the light of it is fine and very often.
Propaganda, you mean, not magazine.
Well, I don't know. There's 2, isn't there? There's 2, because what happens is there's the normal one that you get kind of every quarter, which is mainly a list of pubs that have been reopened, charity events that pubs have done, and then you get the red kind of cover ones, which Tim does his personal version of every now and then, where again he does kind of go off on one. I must admit, they're not even the normal quality one. There's not a lot of reading in it. It's good to check out if there's 1 or 2 new Wetherspoons, but it's and again, we did make the point that. I think it was the Daily Mail that kind of tried to slag him off, and actually I did find the correction that they did there, and they did, as always, it wasn't
Daily Mail, Telegraph,
it was
Independent,
page 23 or whatever.
Everybody.
But he did spend £100,000 on Brexit beer mats. And I must admit I did stop going in for a while following Brexit.
It's going to be quite interesting. The thing about him is he puts that magazine out, and he's like a dictator, isn't he? He doesn't give anybody the right another page of his magazine to give their opinion. I mean, he's up there with like Rupert Murdoch and
but he does, bro. To what people have already put out in the first place.
But you're not paying for it. At least not paying
he's
for
reacting. and he's commentating on what people have already put on the national media. He's correcting them and putting things right.
It's going to be interesting what happens. He says now, will he put one out? Obviously, telling all his people to vote Conservative, which I'm absolutely certain he's going to do because, let's face it, but he's telling people like Rupert Murdoch, he's a man who thinks working class are idiots, and he can distort the minds by putting his magazine out. You know,
I don't quite. He's the same as Rupert Murdoch. That was first launched in 1991. Was the Wetherspoons magazine? It was only 8 pages long in those days.
Yeah.
So anyway,
Bruce is reactive rather than proactive.
Right, I'm going to give you both. 3 minutes to kind of put your view.
Here we go.
We've already got there then, so I think we better let Nicholas go first.
3 minutes because I've got a bloody great list here.
He's had his Elvis juice today in his Wetherspoons meal deal.
I've had Elvis juice. I've had Saltaire Blonde. I've had Black Sheep Special Ale.
And he got change out. He's got all that. He's still got change out of £5.
Absolutely, with me 50 pence off camera
right
tokens. Yeah,
right. You got 3 minutes, Nicholas. Off you go.
I will put the clock on me then. Right, so
anywhere across
the country, I will walk in there and I will feel safe, and I will feel that I can go in there, buy a pint at the bar, go and sit down, and I'm not going to be stared at, I'm not going to be reacted to, I'm not going to be like, oh, bloody LZ. I could also actually get up to the bar instead of you get that little clique of locals sat around the bar. Oh, bloody hell, who are you? So that's the first thing, right? So not just me, but females as well. I've spoken to my mother about this. I've spoken to my parent about this. They feel confident walking to any Wetherspoons in the country or walking to Wetherspoons because they know it's Wetherspoons. They can go in there. They're not going to get grief because they're a female going to a strange pub on their own. Choice and price. The price, as I said before, the price is there on the pumps. You know what you're going to pay for a pint. I walked to the Heart Inn in Sand's End. If I knew I was going to pay £6.10 for a pint of bitter, I would have walked straight back out there again. It wasn't until the girl behind the bar was a bit sheepish, said, oh, £6.10, please. I said to her, hang on, I'm just buying the beer. I don't want to buy the glass as well. She just gave me that shrug of the shoulders as to say, yeah, a lot of people have said this before. It's a tourist pub. So that's the next thing, is the price. It's there. They put the price on the pumps. Also, the app. The app is brilliant. The app is there. You can see how much you're going to pay. You can see what beers are on. Single bloke, walking to the pub on my own. If I need to go to the toilet or I need to go to the bar and order food, on the app I can do that. I get up and go off, unless I'm leaving my belongings there on that table, on that seat where I am, not knowing when they're going to be nicked or robbed or moved on. On the app, I can order all that. I can stay where I am, sit where I am, and get served. Other day, Whitby, Tuesday, right, here we go. A retired couple, small bottle of wine and a Leffe. He was having Leffe. He was having a Leffe beer. Where else can you go and have a Leffe? Bloke on his own next to me, pint of Erdinger. 50-plus couple, he was sharing a bottle of red wine. Retired couple, 2 coffees. They weren't drinking, they just gone there for a coffee. Plus 45 couple, 2 pints of Guinness. Me, I had a pint of Throne Funky Monkey. I think, Mike, you had that the other day, didn't you? Yeah. Bloke at the bar. He was a pint of Molson Coors. Lager drinker, fair enough. Another bloke. He ordered 2 pints of Angry Orchard. Cider. 3 girls. Sugar woo-woo. Choice. What do you want? What more can you ask for? They support the charities as well. The community pubs. Yeah, all right. It's all right.
30 seconds left.
All these whingers, all these like weirdo freakos. But Wetherspoons do a lot for local communities. A lot of old blokes on their own, little old ladies on their own. They know they can go in there. It's part of the community. They raise funds locally, but they also raise funds nationally. Click Sergeant, the young cancer people, they're raising millions of pounds a year. A lot of those multinational breweries, they're doing feck all for the community. They just take their money and just piss it up the wall.
Right.
There we are, 30 seconds.
There you go, 30 seconds. Well, 3 minutes gone. So you know what you're getting. They're a safe space, transparency of pricing. They're forward-thinking, modern. The app and things is, quite useful. It's probably the best. It's probably the best.
Huge variety.
Lots of variety and charity work. Right, Bruce?
Yeah.
You're going to put the case. Go on, hang on, let me reset me clock. Right, off you go.
The positives, like we say, to be fair, he pays his tax. His coffee's good value. And I think there's a handful of pubs that are outstanding architectural. Well, this is the trouble. There are 900 of these bloody pubs. Yes, there's a list of the 30 to 14. Some of these places, they're absolutely squalid. I remember sitting in one in Penzance in Cornwall. It was disgusting. And then we found out with Unique the night we went to Burns, like the one in York in Piccadilly. We were sat there in literally squalor. Look, there are a handful of pubs that have enhanced where they are, but generally, these Wetherspoons are killing off the traditional backstreet locals, aren't they? They're killing off the pubs. I mean, it was in Berwick the other day there. I walked by it. It was rammed. Every other pub had a handful of people in. The best pub in town was closed, really. Yeah, and it is good value. And I have to say, there are the occasional ones are really good. I went to one in Bolsover in Derbyshire, and you saw how it was run there. It was absolutely spotless. The beer was fantastic, which is very much the exception to the rule, because often you go to these places and the quality of the beer, I don't know, Wetherspoons seem to have killed Cascale off to me. It's dead. It looks dead in the glass, you know. The one that Harrogate's a fantastic pub, but the beer's never that great there. It's the same in Esbjerg. The beer's not well kept at all. The food, I'm afraid, to me, it's becoming unedible now. And it's cheap, but there are a lot of stuff going back on the plates there. Now they've got the nerve to knock out those steaks. Those steaks are absolutely appalling. And then we had Nick on a debate. Well, you went last time, because the one thing they like the curries here, but last time they went, they had to say they thought the chicken breast was very peculiar. They ended up leaving all those. So I ended up spending £35 for 2 curries and a steak, and to literally 3 plates of food went back, really. I think the food is absolutely abysmal. And I noticed when he was running through his principles for in the pub that had to be clean. That's the other thing, is it? They're sticky, they're filthy. The furniture's always looking faded now. Those menus and the magazine pages are stuck to the tables. I go there and I find I don't want to be in the damn places, mostly, I say. I know a lot of it goes down local management. I have to say, the fellow around that Bolsover one, he's an example of what they should be. That pub's amazing. But most of these pubs are very, very, very dirty. But no, say apart from that, I mean, yeah, it's just, and also this thing about the 99p manager specials. And how many times have you gone to Driffield? How many times have you gone to Driffield and found a pint for 99p, Nick? Now, if you're if you're running a pub, you know, something like the Bell Tavern, trying to make a living, obviously you've got a multinational corporation knocking out beer at 99p. And I really hope the Labour government restrict the opening hours of pubs so that it can't up until 9:30 or 10, because Pindover's drinking at that time. He'll be the biggest loser. I mean, he's going to stick the knife to them, and I really hope they come back and make life a lot more difficult and knock his profits and hit him where it hurts. I really, really do. Because personally,
they're called lost leaders, Bruce. In the world of business, they're called lost leaders.
So, Bruce's view is that they're squalid. They're killing off local pubs. The beers isn't always good. The food's inedible.
And a Labour government. Oh, wow, fantastic. Oh, almighty.
I think you said it there, Bruce. I think, as always, with all pubs, it's management, isn't it? If you've got good management, you've got good managers.
Absolutely. Agree with you.
You're right. Yeah. They do get hit hard, and therefore the good pubs have got people cleaning all the time. But you're right. Often city centre ones just are washing glasses, aren't they? Because they're not being.
We saw it in the White. Mike, we saw it in the White Hart today. I say, I know. I've been North Allerton. We got there about 3:30, 4 o'clock. And then it was obvious that shift was going off. Next shift was coming in. So the duty manager came in at 5, and she was making a concerted effort to get on site, get on floor, get everything cleaned down. The duty manager, who was on all day, probably from breakfast, basically end the shift. I'm just going to take it easy now. I'm not going to work my ass off. And it was noticeable, you know. And that's the thing. And that's the thing with Wetherspoons, yeah. They're not landlords as such. I know a few pubs in with the Wetherspoon change that have what I would call a landlord, but ultimately they are all managers.
Yeah, and I do think they get that.
This is been a good pub and a bad pub now. A majority of pubs out there, I'm not just talking about chain pubs. I'm talking about pubs in general. They are reliant on managers rather than landlords, and that all comes down to still the hold that the big breweries have on the pubs and everybody else, you know, whether it's pub chains, whether it's breweries, the whole lot. You know, this is the argument, even in Malton now. We've talked about Malton earlier on tonight between myself and my family. The reason why some pubs are good and some pubs aren't. It's down to, you know, managers, landlords, the whole lot, really.
And I think it's probably true of the food as well. I think food, again, if you've got, your proper chefs that were doing it, again, yes, they have a system. Yes, it's all very much kind of portion controlled and pre-packed, and quite like the breakfast. And you've seen the documentaries where they run you through how they do it. But I think you've got the choice, haven't you?
The raw ingredients of Wetherspoons food is pretty good. I mean, they use whipped scampi, for example. It is whippy scampi.
Well, it could be whippy scampi, but it might not be brute. It might not be Corty whippy because it's like Pennyroyal beer brewed in bloody
Kent. It has to be. It's like
it has to carry the name whippy scampi.
It's not cheese now.
No, it's not. Whippy scampi isn't like that. It's not. It's not whatever it is. Agricultural control. I think the beer one is interesting. I think you're right. I think the beer does die quick in the glass. I guess a lot of that is because they haven't got cellars. Most Wetherspoons are not public houses, so they haven't got, if you like, the old cellar system.
No, because there's more Wetherspoons plus got the cask back.
But listen, you're not listening, Natalie. Not too many. But listen. They don't have underground cellars. What they tend to have is I guess they've got cask mark. That's fine. But like at the moment, with the weather fluctuating like it is, and you can always you probably see that more in Wetherspoons. When I was in the other day,
but that cask mark means that no matter what their cellar is, whether it's a room at the back of the pub, has to be kept at a controlled temperature.
Well, yeah, it is, but that we know that's hard, isn't it? Even in a it's unless you've got a cave underground, like
not in a company like Wetherspoons that can afford to bring in engineers who can ensure that temperature is kept constant.
I still think you get that. We haven't mentioned carpets, which kind of could be another key feature of Wetherspoons because they are famous for their carpets.
Expensive. Every carpet is unique, so therefore
I do think. Nicholas, shut, you've had your 3 minutes.
Carpet.
I think the point that you have both made in that they do create a safe space, and it's interesting. There's quite a few in the press locally. There's a couple of people who spent a day in Wetherspoons, and of course there was a off the cheek one about actually we should nationalise them because what they have done in certainly over the winter is create a warm safe space, often in town centres, where the local library, because it shuts, at lunchtime for an hour. It does it like for us now. Our library, great, it's still open, but it shuts for 2 hours at lunchtime to save money. So Wetherspoons just create that space. They are rammed. They're often busy, but then they're designed like that, aren't they? They're designed with that big open space so that they feel full. And you probably have got a lot of old geezers sat there and lady geezers, clutching their refillable £1.19 coffee.
Exactly.
You're
talking about negative press, but I've never seen in the press whereby somebody has been told to leave Wetherspoons because they have bought a coffee and they are refilling it for 99 pence or whatever. It's £1.06.
And I think with all things,
it's never been the national press.
You mentioned
this person was abusing the coffee machine.
My 3 minutes now. You've had your 3 minutes.
Go on.
Tim Martin does go around and try to maintain that quality control, but as always, you can't do that. And so, probably for me, I would say the key thing is it's not so much the actual pub management, but it feels like it's more like the regional management. Who are the regional managers, and are they getting around their estate of pubs that they are looking after? And like you say, the things like sticky tables and glasses piling up, that's simple, that's easy. They do seem to be a bit more stable in their staffing now. I think they did get hit by Brexit, didn't they? Because a lot of them were foreign nationals that worked in Wetherspoons. They do pay minimum wage. But I think that's the thing.
They've always paid minimum wage. They've paid above minimum wage. The problem is, in this industry, hospitality.
No, when I looked at a job, there was minimum wage. No, and that's a challenge I think which they do have. And I think they've also, the app has been great, but the app often then takes 2 or 3 members of staff away, doesn't it, to do all the app work, especially the drink ordering. So I think that's why it's challenged. I think are they cozy? Again, I guess there are 1 or 2 cozy Wetherspoons. I wouldn't say the ones in local to me are cozy. There's a couple of spots, maybe in the Stone one, which was an old post office where you can sit in what were the old telephone booths. When the good old days, when you actually walked in and you telephoned and you got paid, you had to pay how long you've been on the telephone. So I think you missed that from your local pub. But I think, as you said, the thing about them, and I would say, is that you do know what you're going to get. So certainly, if I was going somewhere on holiday, I'd probably go to Wetherspoons if I wanted a breakfast. That's where I'd go. Would I go out there probably for a drink? Possibly. Lunchtime, I probably would. So, and that's where again I've probably been to most of.
You can make that decision by looking at the app. You don't
and I know
have
you,
to physically
and I
go
know
to
you said.
Look on the app, see what beers they've got available.
I know you said, Bruce, about late at night, but actually, technically, I've never been in. Wetherspoons are normally dead by about 10 o'clock at night. Certainly the ones that are kind of more town based. I don't think they.
Well, I mean, in the morning, I think.
In the morning, yeah.
I suspect they might roll back the opening hours, and I mean, he likes to say it's no one's drinking. There's always people drinking, and I think
there is always people drinking, and they do drink, and they do drink first thing in the morning as well. Yeah.
Then that needs run back in. We're trying to help the NHS.
But there might be people on the night shift in London.
Yeah, that's weird.
But these are the guys that are working overnight. These are the postal workers. These are the guys that work until like 2 o'clock in the morning. These are the guys that work in the markets. So why shouldn't they have their after work drink? They're not alcoholics.
I think the ones in Stoke are there all day, every day, so they're not doing any work anywhere.
Fine, but to say Wetherspoons breeds alcoholics who are drinking at 7, 8 o'clock in the morning is bullshit.
Well, it certainly can't help them, can it, really? And also, it'll give cafes a fair run. I mean, if they come open 2 hours later, 9:30 is not unreasonable for pub to open, and it would stop. It would give the cafes a hand, because obviously loads of these cafes must get knocked by mega cheap breakfast. Our high streets are dying.
Yeah, but then you've got your Costa, Cafe Nero, Starbucks, haven't you? So again, I don't
offer a mega cheap breakfast because they are huge multinational.
But then they don't, do they?
So, if they want to offer a cheap breakfast, they can do.
And I think that the local pub is more difficult. Do they close local pubs? I'm not sure they do. I think what closing local pubs is local pubs not really moving on. I think they've got to be a bit more like Wetherspoons, not compete with low cost beer, but think about what you're providing. If you're providing a good quality environment, drink, food, people will come. If you keep changing that so that you're keeping up with trends and you're bringing in apps, that's probably what you want, isn't it? You're right. It's great if I know what beer. I would go to a pub if I knew they had a particular beer on. I go to the pub. The one I probably go most to now is the one down the road here, our ale house, because again, that's what he does. He puts he just takes a picture and puts it on Facebook. But you know what he's serving and what he's got on next. And a lot of pubs just don't do that. You don't know what you're going to get until you walk in. That one I went to the week, I went all the way out there and found all he was serving was Abbott's Ale or bloody Speckled Hen, and that was supposed to be a real ale micro pub. And you could argue that it was. But anyway,
that's the other thing I'm saying to you, Mike, is that a safe environment. I know I can walk into any Wetherspoons in the country, and I can get to the bar and I can be served. And I'm afraid there's a lot of pubs out there, even on the camera guide, that you will walk in there. The locals, the regulars, will turn around and look at you. They won't even allow you to get to the bar because they're all sat there at the bar. It's one thing that Wetherspoons don't allow. They don't allow you to sit at the bar. They say, right, you buy your beer and move away. You've got the regulars, the locals. Think about in Sotheby's as it used to be. Yeah, we were part of that little clique. We could get served at the bar and stand at the bar. But any foreigner or any non-local walking in there, you basically just have queue 2 or 3 abreast. And if you got served, you were lucky.
Right.
And that's the whole point. Wetherspoons is you can go in there as a complete stranger, you can buy a beer, you can go and sit wherever you want to do, and you're not going to be looked at, you're not going to be judged, you're not going to be anything else like that.
Very good. So I think we're going to draw to a close there because I'm just conscious of the time. So I think we've given it a good shot there. Again, anybody listening, watching, really useful. If you want to tweet us or Facebook us or normal, get in touch and tell us what you think. It'd be really useful. That'd be good if we can get a little bit of a poll for next time. I think I think most people would say if you're in a new town and you walk past the Wetherspoons, you probably would pop in. I think that's probably where we all are to some extent, and we all use them. Nick probably uses them more than the pair of us, and that's his choice.
I still say that Bruce will probably give me more Wetherspoons than I've ever been in.
Oh, sure.
In a new town, I like to pop in just in case, saying.
Yeah, and there are some worth visiting. Yeah, and there are some worth visiting. Right, so that's the end of episode 58. 59, I say, will be in June at some point. So we haven't yet come up with an idea for 59. So we need to get our thinking caps on. So we might just do a quick catch up and then have a chat through. So I'm off to Wales for a week, so I might feed back a bit on that. Although again, I've done that done that a couple of times already, and I'm probably I think going to change that much. Obviously, Tenby's got 2 very good breweries, so see what they've got on offer for this summer.
I'm going to Shropshire.
You're going to Shropshire, so maybe that'd be an interesting.
Where are you going in Shropshire?
Oswestry.
Oswestry.
Yeah.
Okay, there's some nice pub in Oswestry.
I'm recommending Scarbados.
Barbados.
Cracking.
So
Yorkshire Art, get on it.
Where are Yorkshire based? It's not the Elgin Brewery, is it? Where are Yorkshire Art based?
Nullmonkton.
That's right, yeah.
Alice Hawthorne, named after a racehorse, but the guy at Nullmonkton, the guy at Yorkshire Art said, "Oh, it's one of these gastropubs now." So
it is very posh. You've got a
unless you've got a
star.
checkbook, yeah. But get yourself there to brewery or
And
got a vinery, yeah.
Talking of brewery, we have got 2 tickets to the Sam Smith's Brewery tour, courtesy of the Brewing Heritage Society. So I've still got to let these 2 fight off who's going to be coming with me. So we might be able to fold back on that one, and we might check the lawyers whether we can do an episode on Samuel Smith's PLC. We better just check in with our legal advisors whether that's well doing. We probably can't go as far as what we've done today. Where we are. So I think that's it then. Bruce, you're working and carrying on the choo-choo line. What beers on LNER at the moment?
We have a Hop on Board Ale from Rudgate Brewery.
Brewed specifically for the railway itself.
330 mils in.
Very good.
4 in standard, yeah.
Right, very good. Then. So
let me get people in Pilsner. They always really like it when they try it.
Yeah. Let me play the funky music so we can come to a close.